Lori Fleckhead of Soltar Solutions, and I'm here today with another episode of Focus Forward. This one is going to be the best yet. This is amazing. My guest is just off the charts. And what you're going to learn today is really going to take your business to the next level. So I'm not going to talk too much in my interview. I'm going to go right to him. So I want you to help me welcome Wilko Kamp, and he is going to be telling us how we can double, triple, or even more our income as entrepreneurs. Wilko, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me, Lori. It's my pleasure to be here.
So tell us about your topic today, because this is just unbelievable.
So I want to share a little bit about my brand new program. It's writeabookinAweek.com, and it will help you write a book in a week. It's like, I believe that everyone has a book inside of them, a story they want to share, something they went through in life that the world needs to hear. And I want to help you get that book out there instead of like holding on to that dream of maybe at some point writing that book, or when the stars are all align, I'll write that book. We all know that if we keep holding on to it like that, it'll never happen. And I really want to help you get it down on paper and get it out there and be able to hold your own book in your hand.
So do you really believe people can write a book in a week?
I really do. As with many things in life, if you know the system, how to do it, it's actually doable and it's easy. And it's just a matter of going through the steps that I teach in my program. And the total time needed to write it is actually, if you calculate it, 37.5 hours. So it's under a week. So I actually give you a couple extra hours to go a little bit longer on certain things if you have to.
So I don't know if you know this about me, but this book here, it's a full-length book. I don't know, it's like 118, 120, 130 pages. I wrote this book in a week. I went to the Dominican Republic, and my co-author and I, we went to an all-inclusive hotel, and we spent 7 days. We got on the plane with an idea, and we got off the plane back in the States with our manuscript. And yes, we had editing and things like that, but this book was written in a week. And we still had fun while we were away. We still did, went to dinner, and we went swimming, and we, toured around the town. So it wasn't like we were just constantly just pounding the keys, but we used a system. And I think the biggest reason why it takes people years and years and years to write their book is they're doing it without a system. So I know it can be done, and I think also, and maybe you're going to back me up on this, it doesn't even really have to be a week. It doesn't even have to be 37.5 hours. You could actually write a book in even less time than that if you knew specifically what you wanted to write.
Definitely, and I'm going to back you up on that, Lori. The 37.5 hours, it's really a maximum time, and I think a lot of people do need that time, because you do have to spend some time, obviously, to write a book. But if you're really passionate about the themes, what I'm finding in writing my next book is that going through the system that I learned myself, it's actually going much faster because of that system, and I find that the total amount of time that I spend on it is actually going to be well under a week. And as you said before, after that, there's some other stuff to do, editing and to do maybe cover designs and come up with all of that good stuff. But the biggest thing to me when writing is coming up with that first page. It's like, I don't have a typewriter anymore, but just imagine that blank page sitting in your typewriter. It's very white, and it just kind of stares back at you, and you get this writer's block, and you're getting all nervous. So getting past the first page, getting past the first chapter, and getting to that first full draft manuscript is just such a hurdle to overcome. Once you have that, the rest is going to be a breeze.
Absolutely. Dan Kennedy says never, ever sit down at the computer without having something already on the screen. He says just that blank page is like, it's like a roadblock. He said if you, whatever it is you put up there, if you can just have something that's a starting point, everything else is easy. So it really is just backing up what you're saying. So is there one kind of book that's easier to write than another?
No, I think you can. I believe you can use the system for any sort of book that you want to write. And once you have a system in place, you'll actually find that there's no such thing anymore as writer's block. And whatever you want to get down on paper, it will just pour out of you, and you can get it out there. So I focus a lot on nonfiction books to share a story of what you might have learned or gone through in life, or something that needs to get out there. But you could as easily implement a system and use it to write a fiction book or a children's book or even a cookbook. Anything you want to do, you can structure that with the system that I teach you.
So what do you think the longest in the whole process, the entire process, from concept through having the finished book in your hand, what do you think is the thing that takes the longest?
That's an excellent question. I actually thought when I wrote my first book, The Freedom Project, I took about 3 months in writing that because I didn't know the system at the time, and then it took me another 3 months to find a publishing home for it. So in a total of 6 months, I went from idea to having a book literally in my hands, and to me that was faster than I had ever imagined. But I think the longest time is not necessarily in writing the book and then finding a publishing home. I think the longest time is after all of that's done, right? It's like writing it is easy, publishing it these days is super easy. It's getting everything that comes after to sell the book, to get your book out there and market it. That's going to be a lifetime commitment.
Well, it seems like you've been very successful at marketing your book. I have an event that I host that it's book marketing and media training. One's coming up in the Dominican Republic now, May 3rd through the 9th, 2015, which is a full 5 days of marketing, branding, figuring out your media training, content marketing and content creation, and all. It's just all the things that you need to know to be able to market your book. I think that for me, the most difficult part or lengthy part of the book was actually getting the advance praise. I would send those letters out, and it seemed like waiting forever for those letters to come back, that advance praise to come back. That's the part for me that I found the most challenging. The easy part was were all the things I had to do, because I just sat down and I did what I needed to do and got that. And that's, I think, the big difference in being able to write a book or not, is really just doing it. So one of the things that I'm curious about is, in your experience, what has this done? What has the difference between an entrepreneur having a book and an entrepreneur not having a book? What have you seen the difference being in someone's business?
It makes all the difference in the world, and I think that's the power of having a book. There's so many companies out there, and if you look in your immediate environment, there might be many people competing for the same industry that you want to go after. I often use the example of a realtor. If I look for a realtor to sell my home, and I'm going to go look, there's probably hundreds that operate in my city. So which one am I going to pick if I'm not looking at friends and family? Because maybe I don't want to do business with friends and family, because that's a different type of relationship that you have with those people. So who would you look at? And I would try and find someone that stands out from the crowd. And I think the best way to stand out from the crowd is to say, hey, I'm a published author. I have a book in my hands right here. And immediately you'll look to be an expert in your field, and it will really draw that market to you. So instead of you going after the market, you'll find that the market is now really attracted to you because you're a published author, and maybe at some point even a best-selling author.
Absolutely. So it really turns the tables on your sales calls.
Definitely.
Instead of making those calls, you're answering the calls when they're coming in. Makes a huge difference. So now you touched on marketing, and then I took marketing, and we never really finished on it. You're a best-selling author. There I am, I'm online, and I see your book, and I contacted you because there it is, bestseller, boom, which was fabulous. I was so impressed. So how did you get to your book to be a bestseller?
It just happened. Obviously, there's a lot of work you have to do in getting it out there and getting people to buy the book. But really, what happened is that within a couple of months after publication, I just, for the fun of it, looked on the bestseller list, and there we were at number 34. And I had just placed a really big order for a trade show where I was going to sell the books myself. So I thought, that was kind of my fault, and I was sure that the next day I would be back to, I don't know, number 7,000 or number 10,000 or some insignificant number. So I checked again a couple of weeks before Christmas, and it had climbed through the rankings to become number 24. And I'm like, well, clearly it wasn't me then, so people must have really engaged with that message. So, but what I've done to promote that and to get there is just tell people about my book and have a vision that I want to inspire people to, for this one, travel the world and go to the places that they want to do. So I think a book is really not about selling. It's to be about service and to share something that you have learned or experienced or mastered in your life, and you want to give that away so other people can benefit from it. I think that's the power of the book, is that you can be of service and can share the things that you've learned. And if there's an appetite for that, you'll become a bestseller automatically.
Absolutely. Well, just to let you know, you can't buy 1,000 books on Amazon and become a bestseller. After, I think you're limited to 4 books where it will count towards your ranking. So it never was you. It never was you. It really was the public purchasing your book. Yeah. So just another thing I wanted to say about the marketing of it is, for you, it's just like it organically happened. You were talking about your book was published, it was out there, it's a topic people are really interested in, but there's a lot of different ways that you can manipulate to become a bestseller. And I know quite a few people who have done that, and they're still bestsellers, and it's like they move the masses. What a lot of people, I feel, do that doesn't really work in their best interest is they don't really tell people about the book. So often authors are the last person in the world to mention their book. So I'm always saying, if you have that book, you know, mention that book, bring that book into conversations, and give people a reason to purchase it. You're great at that. You're awesome at marketing. So I'm very impressed. So could you show me your book again? I just want to look at your book.
Sure can.
Wow.
There you go.
How many pages is your book?
It's 178 pages.
It's a pretty hefty book. It looks like it's got a lot of great information in it. So that's wonderful. So the people that you're working with now, you have your new program coming out, and your program is Write a Book in a Week. And tell me about some of the success stories that you've seen through that.
Well, it's amazing. I want to share a little bit about how that program came to be, because my first book came into existence because I'm a fine art photographer. And so I traveled the world taking all these pictures, and people came to me as like, how do you do that? And how do you travel all the time? So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll write some ideas down that I have and how I structured my travel and did all that, and that became a book. Now I have a book, and people came to me as like, how did you do that? How did you manage to get it written? How did you manage to get it published? And how did you manage to get it sold? I'm like, okay, great. I'll make a course of that and teach you everything I know and really give back those things. Because one after the other came lined up and asked me, like, how did you write the book? I want to write a book about something that I've experienced in my life or about my practice as in my profession or in my career. And I'm like, that's something I could never write, and I really want to give you all those tools, all the things that I've learned, and really share my story in a way, because there's many ways to get a book and become a bestseller. This is just my take on it, and help people get there.
That's amazing. So the market is really asking you for your product, which is always the best way to go about creating any product, is having the market look for it. What do you think your biggest challenge, what do you think your biggest challenge is with writing a book?
Getting over myself, I think. Because I mean, my book just came to be because people asked me about travel. So I started writing some things on a blog, and I've always kind of wanted to write a book and become an author, but I never believed in myself enough to go do it. And even after the book was there, I'm like, well, okay, so I have the book now, but there's about 3,000 new books that come out every single day. So like, I was just one of those 3,000. So I never thought much of it. So I think my biggest hurdle was starting to believe in that what I teach in the book really engages with people and help them to do what it is they want to do. And I think that applies to every author that's going to write a book. It's like, there will be something in your book that is going to touch and engage with some person out there, and it might change their life. It might not be the whole book, but there might be a sentence or two in there that really makes someone think, and that's going to help them a lot. So by actually not sharing your content and not believing in yourself enough to put it out there, you're causing some level of suffering because the people cannot not change their life with what you have inside of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I find that people really need the help that they get from books. I mean, I myself, I read The 4 Hour Work Week, and I totally changed. I think I was on page 7, and I totally changed everything that I was doing, because I do believe that the new wealth is really time and mobility, as opposed to, the old paradigm was that it's just about more money, and we do everything that we can for money, and we, work at jobs we don't like, and, have careers that we really would rather not continue just to have, the money. But Timothy Ferriss, he's like, you know what? The new wealth, it's not about money, it's about time and mobility. And this is a lot about your topic as well. So I really see that there's such a need for people to be able to believe in themselves and actually do that thing that they have dreams about. How do you follow your dream?
You just do it. But there's a lot of you have to believe in yourself and just go after your dream and decide what those are. And I learned for myself that one of the biggest things is that I'd never really asked myself, is like, what is your dream and what do you really want out of life? And I attended a conference with Jack Canfield, and in a way it really touched me because I had to write down what my goals were in life, and it was kind of stressful in a way because I've never thought about that as much. And but I did it anyways and came up with something and learned what those passions are. And then now I live a life where I contribute to those passions every day, and every choice that I make, every decision I get, I contribute in favor of where I'd like to be and where I'd like to go next. So I think following your dreams and passions is just getting clarity on what those are, and then finding the time to go after them. And that doesn't mean that you have to quit your job just yet, but there's something you can do every day, even if it's just 10 or 20 minutes, to contribute to your goals and passions and make that time for yourself, and good things will come from it.
You know what I find is amazing? When people are surrounded by other people who believe in them, those people kind of drive you forward, move you forward, and really help you to go after what it is that you want. And that's what I try to do on this show. I try to bring people like yourself here for these entrepreneurs saying, you know what? You can do this. You can live your dream. You can follow your dream. Here's this person who got an idea for a book. Now he has a book bestseller. Now he's getting his training program going. He's working on his second book. It opens up this whole world for people that a lot of times they get great ideas and they don't follow them. I just did a Google Hangout about subconscious behavior patterns that hold us back, and how we're used to those subconscious behavior patterns. We don't even recognize them. We don't know that it's the subconscious that's telling us we don't know how to write a book. We don't have time to write a book. We don't have the money to travel. It's our subconscious that is closing the doors on our conscious mind. So you're saying, I just do it. That's amazing.
Yeah, you have to get over yourself. And it's funny you mentioned that. I have a picture in my studio that says, surround yourself with positive, successful people. And I really believe that success is a team sport in the end of the day. And like, you need that support network, because no matter how good you're doing, you will have days where things aren't so great and you need someone to pick you up, or where you're nervous to do a big presentation, or where I was nervous to come on your show today. Is like, I really needed some people to tell me, it's like, you can do this, and this is going to be great. And I think we all need that support system in our lives, and we deserve to have that support system in our life.
A lot of people tell me that they're a little concerned before the show, and they're nervous and they're jittery and whatever. And then after the show, they're like, that was so much fun. I loved it. The time has gone so quickly. So it's really interesting. I know when I first started, I was, very apprehensive about hosting, but that it's a Keystone, what Tom Corley, author of Rich Habits and also Rich Kids. I have that book right here. It's a fabulous book. It's a phenomenal book. You got to read this. This is amazing. Amazing book. Tom talks about the Keystone habits, and that's the one habit that we're able to master or incorporate in our life that changes our other habits. So you, maybe as an author, you learn to be an author, and that changed so many different things. It's really understanding what those Keystone habits are, and then they affect a lot of other habits. That's what this TV show was for me. I was not a good speaker. I was, afraid to speak in front of people. I was afraid. I have an accent. I know you didn't know that, but I'm here to tell you. I was always concerned about my accent. And you know what? After about 75 shows where I was like, okay, I can look at myself, oh, that's not that bad. You know what? It opened up a world of different things for me. Now I'm doing the Google Hangouts on air, which is like flying without a net. It's amazing. I mean, we just need to say why not instead of why. Why would I do that? Or I don't want to do that, or it's outside my comfort zone. Absolutely. That's the thing that you need to do. So it's so wonderful to have you here and to share with us. I want to ask you 3 tips that anyone can do to write their book.
First of all, I would encourage you to check out my program. So if you go to writeabooinaweek.com, there you can check out the program, see what it entails. Second of all, what it takes to write a book is believing that you have a book inside of you. That one thing that I say in the program is life is like a potluck dinner. We all have something to bring to the table, and there's something that you have either experienced in life or that you've learned or mastered that you can bring to the table, and you can write a book about that. And if you don't know where to start and that first page is scaring you, there's a system that you can follow, and a thing like writer's block really doesn't exist if you follow the system. The third one is to stay in touch with me through my blog, livingbyexperience.com, where I share a lot of the things that I do. I share the things that work really well for me. I also share the things that might have not worked so well for me, so others can benefit from it. And I encourage you to stay in touch with me there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. So tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you.
So there's the program is out there today. So you're able to sign up for that, and my contact information is all on the website. And really, the program for me is not a way to necessarily sell, but it's for me to be of service and to share everything that I've learned in a structured way. I mean, it's one thing to meet with someone over coffee and say, okay, this is what I've done to write the book, but it takes a little bit more than that. You can't exactly teach a system over coffee. So I wanted to do something that's much better than that. So through that program, not only do I want to teach what I've used and what I've learned and what has actually made me a #1 best-selling author, I will also want to connect and engage and kind of build that community and support each other in the long run in writing both of our books.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. So we're going to put on the screen exactly what it is where people can find you, because I know that they're going to be interested in following you, getting your book, and also finding out about your program. One of the things that I think is really important is continuously learning. We can figure all these things out on our own, or we can go to someone who's figured them out, spend a few dollars, and get the benefit of their information and how they put things together and how they do it. It's a completely different experience when you go to someone who's already done it. And then you take, instead of spending 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, a millennium to write your book, you're able to mainline and get that book in 37.5 hours. I mean, there's no comparison. Plus the information about the marketing, the this, the that, and then the program that I offer, it takes people through marketing, media, how you go about distributing content, a lot of the things that you're already doing that have contributed to you being a best-selling author. So I really want to thank you for being on the show today, Wilko. It was wonderful.
Thank you very much for having me, Lori. I really appreciate the opportunity to share something about my program and make more people authors and give them the books that is already inside of them and make sure that they can hold it in their hands really soon.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you. This has been Lori Flaquer of Soltar Solutions, here with another episode of Focus Forward. Was that wonderful or what? You know what? Just get over yourself and write your book. It will change your life in ways that you can't even imagine. So absolutely, check out Wilko's program. There's other programs out there. My program, Business on the Beach, it's wonderful. It's fabulous. If you already have a book or you think you have a book in you, absolutely check it out, because there's nothing like going to an expert for help. It's mainlining you. It's like being on the bullet train. So thanks so much. You have a great day, and I'll see you soon.